Food is getting expensive, and so is everything else. Well, isn't that what we call inflation? Hold on to that thought for a second, since this topic hits close to home, and the wallet for many of us. It's no secret that times have been tough, and it's starting to show on the grocery bills. Now, while everything is getting more expensive, let's remember that inflation in the US is not much higher than 5%. An expensive lifestyle becomes more expensive. But amongst everything that climbs in price, there seems to be some food items that are getting much more pricier than everything else. For instance, the USDA's Economic Research Service Food Price Outlook says that meat prices will rise 5.6% in 2024. But meat isn't the only food item getting out of grasp. Let's talk about 15 such food items that, believe it or not, are becoming a bit of a luxury for the average American household. Beef. Starting off with a big one, beef. There's nothing like some good beef at a family barbecue. Juicy steaks, burgers, what's not to love? Unfortunately, beef prices have skyrocketed. It's not just about the luxury cuts either. Even ground beef is getting out of reach. You might be wondering if there's a specific reason behind this. Everything from increased feed costs to labor shortages in the industry continue to add to the price, and it's almost at a point where it's getting a bit much. It might be a good idea to start thinking about incorporating poultry, fish, or plant-based options into your food. But if you're sticking with beef, don't just pick the cheapest cuts of beef. The right cuts of beef depend on the recipe you're making, so being mindful and researching your beef choices can do well for you. Seafood. Seafood is now out of reach for many of us. Whether it's salmon, shrimp, or even canned tuna, the price difference is staring us right in the face. This isn't exactly happening out of nowhere, because overfishing, climate change, and transport costs play a huge role here. Eventually, the higher cost of seafood did have a noticeable effect on how people behaved. Folks stopped getting seafood. The prices went down because of this. There was a change in buying habits towards cheaper options. This was helpful, but seafood is still one of the most expensive meats to eat. Cheese. Everyone loves cheese, but artisanal and imported cheeses have become quite pricey. Even your everyday cheddar is not immune, and might be getting a little bit too expensive on the higher end of the quality. Milk production costs and international trade issues are partly to blame, but if we take a look at some numbers headed into 2024, we can see some interesting trends. Predictions would show an uptick in both the prices and demand for US cheese. The rationale behind it is simple. The demand of cheese only continues to increase, which drives up the price like nothing else. Since there isn't a straightforward alternative to cheese, you might want to make some room in your grocery budget for this one. Nuts. People are beginning to consume more nuts in the United States as a healthy on-the-go snack option. This is driving up the price quite significantly. Now, if we look for a reason, we can say this trend is fueled by the rising popularity of plant-based diets and a growing focus on nutrition. These aspects are leading Americans to turn more frequently to nuts as a snack option. The demand surge is noticeable across various types of nuts, with almonds, walnuts, and cashews among those getting pricier. A brief look at the numbers show that export price per kilogram of nuts from the US has been steadily rising, reflecting this growing demand. Predictions for 2024 suggest that the export price per kilogram of nuts could reach an average of around $7.05, a big enough increase from previous years. Organic produce. The cost of organic food in the US has been climbing. This isn't just a random hike, but a trend that's been noticeable over the past few years. Why though? Well, for starters, organic farming is more expensive than regular farming. It's about avoiding chemicals, which means more work and more people needed to do it. Not to mention, getting the organic label isn't free. Farmers have to pay for certification, and this could often get passed down to you, the consumer. To top it all off, organic farms often produce less than regular farms, but more people want organic food. So with less supply and more demand, prices go up. Coffee. If you're a coffee lover, you might not want to hear this, but coffee prices have been going upwards for a while now. This is partly due to climate change affecting coffee growing regions and high global demand. But it's all about the country where it mostly grows. Brazil. The Brazilian real's value against the US dollar plays a significant role in coffee prices. A stronger real usually leads to higher coffee prices since coffee is largely traded in dollars. Speculatively, the positions of traders in the coffee market, known as the Commitment of Traders (COT), often influence prices. While the current CO2 report suggests a neutral impact, it can sway in either direction, affecting prices in either direction. If any of those factors were to change, it might make coffee more affordable going forward. Flour. The United States is not producing nearly enough wheat as it used to a few years down in history. Since 1981, when production was at its highest point, U.S. wheat plantings have dropped by almost 39 million acres, and production has dropped by almost 1 billion bushels. Also, Russia and Ukraine, two of the world's main grain suppliers, fell apart this year. The fighting between the two countries is causing terrible losses in every way you can think of. It's also affecting the food we eat because wheat supplies around the world have dropped sharply. The price of flour and all foods made with it has gone through levels that have never been seen before. We can only hope bread doesn't end up becoming unaffordable. Eggs. Eggs are one of the most practical foods we know because there's so many recipes, and eggs have always been light on the pocket. Eggs are also very important in a nutritional manner, especially protein and collagen. But who would have thought that the price of eggs would go up by as much as 125% in some stores in just 2 years? Well, that's exactly what has happened. That's simply because of the demand from the customers often exceeds the supply. While 2023 has been rough, it's expected that 2024 may not be bad for egg prices after all. Fresh fruits. Gone are the days when you walk into your favorite grocery store, head for the fruit section, and grab whatever looks nice. Today, you'd be expected to pick up some apples, maybe a bunch of bananas, or a pint of strawberries. But lately, you might have noticed that the price tags on these things have been creeping up. It's not just your imagination. The cost of fresh fruit has indeed been on the rise. Firstly, Mother Nature hasn't been too kind to fruit farms lately. Unpredictable climates, be it extreme cold snaps or scorching heat waves, have been playing havoc with harvests. When the weather acts up, it's hard for farmers to produce the bountiful, quality fruits we love, and this scarcity nudges prices upward. Not to mention that getting those strawberries from the farm to your fridge isn't free. Fuel costs, the distance traveled, and even the state global oil markets can affect how you end up paying for your fruit. Chocolate. This one might hurt, but chocolate is definitely getting quite expensive. Since the prices of chocolate, which is made from cocoa beans, milk, and sugar, are going up, many people can't afford to buy it anymore. Recently, the price of chocolate went up by more than 8%, which made people eat less of it. Big chocolate producers like the global brands that make well-known products like the Toblerone and Cadbury are having a hard time with inflation, which suggests that prices are going up again soon. Granola bars. Now, granola bars used to be a popular snack because they were cheap and good for you. But now their prices are going up too. Buying them makes little sense anymore because there may be alternatives for nutritional value. This may be because the price of important ingredients like nuts and oats has reached all-time highs. In the last year, the price of a box of granola bars has gone up about 21%. People who used to rely on these bars as an easy and cheap way to snack are being greatly affected by this price increase, as it looks like they're not as willing to get their hands on them any longer. Potato chips. This might be the last thing you want to see on this list, but we still have another 3 to go. Unfortunately, even the potato chip is not safe from rising prices. In the past few months, prices have gone up by 14%, and major companies like PepsiCo and Kellogg's expect them to go up by another 6% soon. This rise is because the potato harvest has been bad, and the price of vegetable oil has been going up, making this popular snack harder to get. If these conditions improve, we can expect the price increase to slow down going forward. Chicken. Chicken has been affordable since forever. Interestingly, it was the outbreak of the avian influenza that has led to a reduction of around 100 million birds, severely impacting supply. Now, the cost of chicken has gone up, marking an increase of approximately 20%. This hike is not just limited to chicken, but it's also reflective of a broader trend affecting the entire meat industry. With costs soaring, American consumers are finding their options for affordable meat shrinking. Expected to continue their upward trajectory, this poses a challenge for households across the nation, as chicken, once a budget-friendly option, becomes increasingly out of reach for many. Bacon. Bacon's price keeps rising, and this is affecting not only consumers, but the industry as well. The main cause of this surge can be traced back to multiple reasons. One of the main reasons for the rising cost of bacon is the increase in feed prices. The cost of corns and soybeans, essential components of pig feed, has skyrocketed, directly impacting the cost of raising pigs. Also, there has been a notable rise in demand for bacon, which, when combined with supply chain disruptions, has led to a shortage in some areas. The industry has also been grappling with labor shortages and increased production costs, which have compounded the issue. As a result, the price of bacon has risen by roughly 15 to 20% over the past year. This trend is particularly challenging for consumers who have long considered bacon a relatively affordable protein source. With these ongoing economic pressures, it appears that the cost of bacon will remain elevated for the foreseeable future. Breakfast cereal. Americans are having to pay higher prices for their favorite breakfast cereals, so this increase is mainly due to rising cost of key ingredients, like grain and sugar. But the packaging costs for cereal have also gone up. These factors, combined with increased transportation and logistic expenses, contribute to the overall hike in cereal prices. Now, consumers have seen an approximate 5 to 10% rise in the cost of various cereal brands over the past year, impacting household grocery budgets. If cereal were to get even more expensive, would you consider removing it from your grocery list? For similar content, don't forget to check out some of the other videos on your screen.